Welcome in. It is Big Ten today, a Wednesday here on the Big Ten Network. Great to have you with us. We are 2 weeks away from Media Days here in Chicago. We'll be talking a ton of football on people's minds. So why don't we start there? It's Maryland Day on the network, so we focus in on Mike Locksley's Terps coming off a 4-win year, but plenty of reason for optimism, including the return of cornerstone QB Malik Washington. Got some talented receivers to work with out of the portal, as well as a new play caller in Clint Trickett coming over from Jacksonville State, plus a monster local recruit added in Zion Ely, ranked the number 10 recruit in the nation by 247 Sports. Jeff Ehrman covers the Terps for Inside Maryland Sports, their 247 site, and he joins us now to talk a little bit more about Maryland football. And Jeff, let's start kind of big picture here. They went to 3 straight bowl games, and then the last 2 years, 4-8 both seasons. What do you see as the expectations for the Terps heading into this year?
Yeah, Dave, that's like the question people ask all the time. How many wins do they need? How many wins? And, you know, it's hard to say, put a specific number on it, obviously, but clearly you need to show, you know, significant improvement. Back-to-back 1-8 seasons that have kind of spoiled the taste of those 3 straight years with bowl wins for the first time in program history. So, you know, clearly you need to get back to at least 6 wins, I would say, get to a bowl game. And, you know, if you can get that sort of marquee win that the program and the fans have really been craving for a few years, that would go a long way.
Well, as I've thought about them here in the offseason and gotten set for media days in preseason, I think one of the things that's really stood out to me is there's hope for a lot of reasons. They had a lot of young talent last year. They did a really nice job of retention. It felt like, to me, for the first time in a while, the portal was probably a net positive for them rather than a net negative. And I think the biggest retention piece was Malik Washington, right? They really pushed their chips to the center of the table last year, had a true freshman quarterback. They rolled with him from the get-go. There were ups and downs, but you certainly saw the potential there. What kind of steps do you think Washington can take? What are they expecting to see out of him in terms of elevating his game here in year 2 as a starter?
Yeah, Dave, you know, year 1, obviously, he had a lot of good moments, had his share of bad moments, as any true freshman starting at quarterback in the Big Ten will have. You know, he's got a new offensive coordinator, obviously, Clint Trickett. They feel like he fits Clint Trickett's system a little better than he did with Pep Hamilton's system. The biggest things I would say, clean up some of the mechanics with his footwork. You know, he had a tendency to also throw 100-mile-an-hour fastballs on short routes and things like that. But at the same time, his receivers let him down quite often. They led the country in drop passes, and he didn't have a running game to lean on. So when you include those in the equation, it was a pretty good year for a true freshman. This year, if it's going to be a success, they need him to tell. He doesn't have to be a superstar necessarily, but he does need to step up into that, you know, top half of the Big Ten starting quarterback level.
You mentioned that absence of a run game, and to me that was a big theme coming out of last year. And to a certain extent, I think you addressed that by hiring Clint Trickett. I mean, you look at Jacksonville State a year ago, they could really run the football. What are we expecting schematically? You'd mentioned earlier you feel like maybe Washington's a better fit for what Trickett wants to do than what Pep Hamilton did. What is it that Trickett wants to do?
Yeah, so Trickett has more kind of air raid in his DNA, more pace and pre-snap motion, whereas Hamilton was kind of an old school, try to line it up in tight and pound the ball down their throats. Really didn't work out, you know, all season, second to worst in the Big Ten and rushing yards per game. So I think they feel like this is going to open up the run game, but also give him more opportunities for deep balls and, you know, more opportunities to use his legs, which, as we saw last year, intermittently, he can move. So, you know, they feel like it's a pretty good fit. Obviously, there's questions about the playmakers. You don't have a star running back. You don't have a proven 1 or really 2 guy at receiver. You have some potential guys, but, you know, that's just as big of a question mark to me as Malik Washington's progression.
I want to go to the other side of the ball. Ted Martino's defense felt like it got incrementally better last year, but I think there's some themes running through that are similar to the offensive side, which was young guys who they rolled with early who really flashed. I think Sidney Stewart, Zahir Mathis are the most obvious ones. Let's talk personnel first here on Monachino's D. What are some of the philosophies and the names that you think we ought to be familiar with here heading into year two?
Yeah, in terms of the names, obviously the two guys you mentioned, Mathis and Stewart, were both true freshman All-Americans, I should say, last year, combined for 13 sacks. Now you bring in Zion Ely, five-star pass rusher, one of the top recruits in the country. And then, those guys a little bit have overshadowed Daniel Wingate, who was one of the best linebackers in the Big Ten last year, has a chance to be a first-team all-conference kind of guy, and on that level that some of the bigger names who've come through at Maryland at linebacker, E.J. Henderson, DeQuell Jackson, I think he has a chance to be on that level. And then, you've got a lot of experience at cornerback as well, so and more depth in the middle at D tackle. So I believe this defense has a chance to be one of Maryland's best in a while. In terms of Monachino, I think you'll see a little bit more of an aggressive approach. I'm told that the word has been handed down to him that they want to see more aggressiveness, more blitzing. So that'll be interesting to follow because there is a ton of talent on that defense.
No doubt. Ely is a guy, obviously, Maryland fans incredibly excited about, and just another high-profile recruit. You're able to keep him home, and now can you have him come in and be an immediate contributor? But that was indeed caused a lot of havoc last year, so there's reason for optimism. I want to leave you with this. Other names we should know, like kind of as people brush up on Maryland, there's so much in terms of transition in this day and age and turnover on rosters. Who else are you excited to see as someone who follows Maryland day in and day out?
I think another name would be Messiah Delhomme. He's a safety from Virginia. Played really well, one of many true freshmen who played well last year. Maryland returns the second most production in the country after Notre Dame. Defensively, I think they returned 74%, and most of those guys are the kids from that recruiting class last year who played well as true freshmen and who they're expecting to become stars this year. C.J. Smith, a linebacker, another true freshman. I believe he was top 4 or 3rd on the team in tackles last year. And then they really like, in terms of veterans, Jamari Glasker, a cornerback. He made a lot of big plays last year, gambled often, sometimes lost, but they feel like he's going to be a guy for them.
Jeff Erman, Inside Maryland Sports. Jeff, really appreciate your time. Keep up the good work. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Appreciate it.